Hi, this video is writing a formal report for the GCSE English Language Paper 2 exam. So for EduCast, but for all the other ones really, you have two things to write in the exam. And here are the 6 text types. For other exam boards, it might just be one you have to write, but these are the 6 things you have to copy. For EduCast, you have to do 2 of these in an hour. We obviously don't know which ones you're going to get, and it's 300 to 400 words for each task. This is an example of a report. Question. Your college is looking for ways to improve. Your principal has asked you to write a report suggesting how the college could be improved. Write your report for the principal. So what is a report? Well, it's a formal document, and we'll go back to that term in a minute, that gives information or advice. So the idea is you look for 3 or 4 ways for the company to improve, and whatever you say, whatever solutions you give them to improve, or whatever advice you give them, the idea is they will follow what you say. So for the GCSE English Language, the report will either be for your school or college, or it will be for a local business. So if it's a school or college, you would think about all the ways that your college or a fantasy college could improve, or it could be a workplace. One that I've seen quite a few times is a local leisure centre, how to improve a local leisure centre. So basically you're writing to a person you don't know, so you've got to be really, really formal. And like I say, whatever you says goes. So if you say that there needs to be a major development of changing rooms, for example, then they're going to do whatever you say. Okay, so remember, this is the only one in the exam really where it has to be really ultra formal. So have a think to yourself, if it was formal clothing, have I got these around the right way? Well, I haven't, no. So informal would be like an informal letter that you might write to your friend, or if you have to write a speech, it might be a speech to your class where you could be informal. But if you're writing a formal letter, and in particular a formal report, you've got to be very businesslike and very professional. And the report really is the only text in the exam where you've got to be extremely formal. Okay? And how to write formal? Well, really, you just need to be polite in your tone, be quite businesslike and ambitious in your vocab. Use connectives like therefore, firstly, in conclusion, and you shouldn't use slang. That doesn't mean that you can't use contractions. So a lot of people say to me, oh, can I not use wouldn't or shouldn't? Now, you can still use that language. You don't have to always say should not or would not, but certainly don't use slang in the report. And so of the 6 text types, really, you write them all the same way, really. You're trying to persuade the reader to agree with you. And the only differences really are the page look. So for example, the letter, you have addresses. On a report, you have titles, and it's the tone, formal or informal or a mixture of both. So the formal letter and the report are formal, and all the rest can be pretty informal. However, the letter probably is halfway between the two, where you can still be a little bit informal, even though you're probably going to write to a newspaper, but you don't have to be really professional, because you're not writing for a business or anything. So here's the report structure then. So you've got a formal title with formal subheadings. So if you're writing an article, a leaflet or a review, you'd want to do a catchy title, catchy formal subheadings, but in a report, very business-like, and it can be very boring. So you could just call it report or college report. And like all the other texts in the exam, you've got intro and conclusion and 3 main points. However, a little bit different this time, that in your report structure, you're going to have in that paragraph, you're going to have a problem and solution, and we'll go on to talk about that in a second. So in reports then, you must keep it formal, business-like, create statistics, so you can make up statistics to prove your points, and each of your main paragraphs describe one problem and how you will solve that problem in the same paragraph. So always with these questions, particularly for like a report, you're always trying to think of your 3 main paragraphs. So what I would do is try to think of 5 ways to improve the college or the school, and then pick the best 3 of those. So I came up with the canteen. I think the canteen can be improved. And remember, this is not an autobiography or your memoir. Even if you go to a school or college where the canteen is absolutely fantastic, you can just pick the stuff that would be easiest to write. The canteen and the food and the catering would be an easy one to write. So even if you think at your school it's really good, doesn't matter. Pick stuff that's going to be easiest for you from a word count point of view and where you can show off. So I've picked the canteen. I've picked the student union, which I think is not big enough, doesn't organise many trips. And I'm going to do car parking, where there's no student car parking, and even for the staff, it's a bit of a squeeze. So there you go, there are my three. So there are my three problems. So then remember, we've got to do the solution. So what is a solution? Well, it's basically a way how to solve that problem, isn't it? Yeah. So you need to recommend how to solve the problems, and then that goes in the same paragraph. And remember, 1 point per paragraph. This is what we don't want. Where you've got one massive block of writing. Basically, you need a paragraph, intro, conclusion, 3 main points. All of them have a big space in between. And remember, this is the structure for all the questions. It doesn't matter if it's a report, a letter, a speech. Your example, you have 5 paragraphs, you have an intro, conclusion, and you have your 3 main points. Yeah, so my plan then is I've got improve the college for my intro and conclusion, because that's basically what I'm saying I'm going to write about and what I have written about. And then my paragraph 2 will be about the catering, paragraph 3 about the student union, paragraph 4 about the car parking. So again, same structure as I just shown you, but those are going to be my 3 main paragraphs with subheadings as well. So if I show you an example paragraph then, this is a short one, so maybe you'd write a couple more sentences more, but here we go. Firstly, one huge concern from the students was the canteen. 86% of students stated that the food was unsatisfactory. The results also showed there were limited vegetarian options, while the food was sometimes served cold. This could be solved by an extra employee being on the counter at all times. In addition, more vegetarian meals should be brought in, and the food must be always served at a certain temperature. So I've got a really clear topic sentence at the top. I've got statistics to back up my point. 86% of students agree that the canteen's not good enough. I've obviously made up that statistic. I've got a formal sentence starter. I've got in addition, and I've also got just sort of quite formal language all the way through. So unsatisfactory, stated, extra employee, in addition, all quite formal. And then if we look at the same paragraph, so remember, it's about 6 or 7 sentences. The first 2 or 3 are the problems, and then the second 3 or 3 are the solutions. So remember, problem and solution in the same paragraph. And they probably should be about 50%. Give me the problems, give me the solution. So impressing the examiner. So dress is a really good way to impress the examiner. However, I'd say the report, all of these are not going to be appropriate. So the only real ones that you probably would be appropriate for a report would be the statistics and the sentence starter. So using exciting adjectives wouldn't probably be appropriate for a report. So if we look back at that paragraph, slightly different paragraph, but pretty much the same. I've got yellow, I've got a sentence starters. I've got secondly, unsurprisingly, in addition, all quite formal sentence starters. I've got short sentences as well. So you can shove in a short sentence, particularly if you want to bring attention to that particular point. And then I've got statistics. So 90% of students and 5 trips per academic year. So again, statistics are a really good thing to get into a formal report. And how do I start it? So a lot of people struggle to get going. Once they get going, they're fine. But what are you going to do in your intro? So first of all, you need a title. So again, like I said earlier in the video, you wouldn't want a catchy title. So you can even just call it Report, College Report, Report on College Improvements. And let's look at writing an intro. So this intro here, this is for all the text types, okay? All tips. So write no more than 2 sentences. In your first sentence, summarize the question. And a good tip would be copying out some of the exam question. And second sentence, basically saying what your clear opinion is or what your aim is of your text. And if some of you, if you're pushing for higher grades, maybe use some address in your intro, or you could use a colon in your intro. So this was an example of a different one about a letter at a festival, saying a festival's good or bad. So I've put, recently I read an article that said newspapers or festivals are a waste of time. That is literally taken from the question. Second sentence, am I for or against? And I've put, I'll give reasons why I love music festivals. So again, first sentence, what's the question? Second sentence, what is my side of the argument or my argument? And there we go. So if we look at R1, I've put introduction for my formal heading, and I've put the principal has asked me to write a report on how the college can be improved. How the college can be improved is taken directly from the question. And then I've put in this report, I will show how the college can increase its performance. Another good thing in the second sentence to do is to mention the text type. So mention I'm writing a report. That might be another good thing to do. And here's where I've used a colon instead. So I've kept the first sentence and I've gone, let me get straight to the point. The college needs to make changes urgently to improve. So it's a strong intro. Using the colon as well might push my SPAG grades up. I've shown the examiner I know how to use a colon. So that would be really impressive to start with that. Okay, so a topic sentence. So a sentence that states the main thought of a paragraph. Obviously, it's the first sentence of the paragraph. So always make sure you have a clear and short topic sentence at the start of your main paragraphs 2, 3 and 4. So I've enlarged them here to make it obvious to you. So I've put, firstly, one huge concern from the students was the catering services. Secondly, the student union needs major redevelopment. Thirdly, parking is a major problem. This is really important that you do this. So they shouldn't be, I know mine are longer than a line, but I've made the font bigger. They shouldn't really be longer than a line, and you shouldn't really be using connectives like and or because or however. You can really impress the examiner after your first paragraph, but just in your topic sentence of your main paragraphs, really short, really clear, really succinct what the rest of your paragraph's going to talk about. You, instead of putting thirdly, while parking is a major problem, if you put something like thirdly, parking is a major problem, as there's always traffic jams in the morning because people are getting to work, it just gets very confused, very all over the place. You can talk about that part, but do it later on. First sentence, make it nice and clear. So here's some other examples, pretty much the same, but yeah. Okay, so report info as well, 300 to 400 words. Do a 5-point plan, formal title and subheading. So I didn't mention that earlier in the PowerPoint, but if you look at my structure, I haven't just got subheadings for intro and conclusion. I've got, for my catering one, I've got catering, student union, park, and I've got little subheadings. Identify the problems and solve these problems in the same paragraph. Use statistics and formal business language in your report. And make sure you've got clear topic sentences for paragraph 2, 3 and 4. Okay, great. Hope that's been of a lot of use to you, and good luck in the exam. There's lots of videos on my YouTube page of all the other ones as well, so feel free to look at them.